What's up, everybody? We got Agatha's two-episode finale this week, but before we get into the episodes, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any future breakdowns, reviews, or the daily news. With that being said, let's get into the episodes. Our first episode of the finale, episode 8, brought us back to the death of Alice. Death comes for her after Agatha stole her power and killed her, and we pretty much just saw what happened while Rio was off screen after that trial. Aubrey looked incredible throughout the show as Death. It's truly one of my favorite MCU castings, if I hadn't said it enough already. Anyway, Jen and Billy are still together after the last trial, mourning Lilia. Jen explains that the green craft is the balance of growth and decay, and Rio is the embodiment of that, of course, and while they're doing that, Agatha's running back to the road with many reasons to be running. The big one is Rio, though, as she returns to the road too. It's revealed Agatha was protecting Billy from her the whole time because he upsets the balance she was created to keep. They also get to talking about her son, Nicholas Scratch. It's the one thing Agatha's done that she can't swallow. It's also what created her soft spot for Wanda's boys. To death, Billy finding Tommy and giving his body a new soul is yet another violation that Billy already committed himself. We get a little evil Agatha here too. She agrees to get Billy to hand himself over to Death in exchange for her freedom until her time comes. Rio seemed a bit offended, but she left anyway after agreeing, and the practical effect of ripping the wall was pretty cool here too for her character. So, with Death gone, Agatha continued her journey as she reconnects with Billy and Jen. The final members of the Coven are still at each other's necks, and Agatha is hilarious during this. Catherine Hahn does such a great job mixing her roasting of Jen with her mind breaking when they get back to the start of the road. Billy's had enough of it though, so he puts his shoes back on to just try something, with Jen and Agatha seemingly doing the same afterward as they end up in Agatha's basement and awaken in body bags. Also, I talked about Lilia getting Billy's book last week, and it seems that she ruined it as it's scratched out when he gets it back here. We also found out that back in the 1920s, Agatha was the one who bounded Jen when she was living as a doctor in Boston. When she realizes that, Jen immediately frees herself, getting her power back, but also getting what she wanted from the road. With that, she disappears. Agatha and Billy are still in the trial, though, and now she's going to help him find Tommy, completing her deal with the infamous ex, Death. She takes him back to the final moments of Westview before making him search for a new body to put his brother's soul into. It seemingly works, as Billy's also taken by the road, leaving Agatha to drown in her sorrows over Nicholas yet again. She escapes the trial and the road just in time, but Billy didn't go to death, and so she's waiting for Agatha in Westview. We got to see a couple Westview residents here too, as their town is consumed by magic once again. Death puts some of her power on display here too, tormenting her ex-lover before Wiccan comes flying in, comic accurate suit and all, to save the day. He willingly gives her some of his power so that she can fight for herself and get some strength back after Rio did a number on her, and the fight continued for a bit after that. But once it stopped, Agatha was ready to let Billy sacrifice himself until he asked if this was how Nicholas died. That forces her hand, and she gives herself up in the sexiest sacrifice in the history of sacrifices. All jokes aside, this was a great scene humanizing Agatha, who looked to be fully back in her evil ways at the beginning of the episode. The hole left by Nicholas is simply too big to fill, though, Billy coming closest, and again, that's why she cares about him. He sticks around as Agatha turns to flowers before being told it's time to go by Lady Death, who's in her true form, or truer form, with a dope voice. Billy makes a Maximoff walk of shame out of Westview with his hood up, just like his mother at the end of WandaVision, with a nice little callback by Jack Schaefer before Billy returns to William Kaplan's home, and the big reveal is made that Billy created the road. It's not confirmed by Agatha until the next episode, but in his room we see a Lorna Wu poster, a Wicked Witch figure, Agatha from last week's episode, a tree, which was either the road itself or Rio, leaves for Lilia, a painting with the environment from the first trial outside that house, a Ouija board, and the shoes. Also, Agatha's there. That was an incredible episode as it was paced really well, keeping the story, which was good, engaging while topping it with strong performances from Catherine and Joe and Aubrey, a great score, and some decent action with death. Alright, I'm not going to waste any time. Let's get right into episode 9. This one started with a flashback going all the way back to 1750. We see a pregnant Agatha scurrying through the forest and she's in labor. She's also hiding from her love, Death. She's coming to take Nicholas, but Agatha's begging gets her an extension on her son's life, although she doesn't know how long it's gonna last. After she has Nikki, she roams the woods and stumbles upon some other witches in those woods who are happy to help her. But Agatha being Agatha, she kills them, and that was shown earlier so her perimeter lights up when she comes inside. Then we jump 6 years to 1756, and Agatha, she's still doing this. Now, though, being a young boy, Nicholas is drawing her victims in so she can get her bodies. She tells him that she does it to survive, and while that's probably true, as I could see it being part of her deal with Rio, aka Death, it's also her selfish chase for power. We got a nice montage of her being a genuine mother for a change, even though she always has cared deeply for her son. She's just a witch at heart. I mean, she was using him to draw in victims, but she sings him one final song, not knowing it would be her last, before Rio comes for him in the middle of the night as Agatha awakens to find only his cold body on the ground in pure devastation inside herself. The tragedy pushes her back into her evil nature, which starts when she meets another witch in the forest. She hears her singing the ballad of the Witch's Road, and Agatha's plot to lure the witches and kill them is hatched. She does it over and over and over again, drawing them in with the promise of the road, as we got another montage, but this one was pretty cool with some solid costumes. At the end of the montage, we got to our attempt in our show, which was a cool spin on that scene at the end of the show here. In fact, the entire show, well, not the show itself, but the journey on the Witch's Road, was a mistake. She didn't think it was possible until Billy created it, and the execution on this twist was damn good. After that, we go back to the final scene of episode 8 as Ghost Agatha, a pretty comic accurate one too, appears in his room. She makes it official, telling Billy he's the one who created the road, leading to the realization that he's got blood on his hands now too, just like Agatha. He essentially did the same thing she did, if you ask me, just with a bit of foreplay, and also allowed Jennifer to survive, with Agatha even saying he saved her as she escapes the road and flees Westview. The show comes to an end as Billy returns to Westview once again, specifically Agatha's basement, where the door to the road remains. He went there to try and banish Agatha, but when she reveals she's terrified to face her son, Nicky, he just can't do it because he sees a genuine person in there still. She also disrupted his spell, finding a way to knock her locket out of his hand. He realizes they're not all that different too, before closing the door to the road and turning it into a memorial for Mrs. Hart, Alice, and Lilia. Then the new pair walk off on a new mission to find Billy's brother, Tommy. I thought that was a solid finish for the show. Episode 8 was stronger than 9, but both were good in their own way. There's no doubt that in these two episodes and the entire show, there were bumps in the road, but this show genuinely shocked me with how good it ended up being, as not only did it surprise me, but it was legit a good show. And so that'll do it for my breakdown of the AGATHA finale and the breakdowns for the show. I think the future is bright for these two, though, with Vision Quest in mind specifically, as I can't wait to see the Maximoff family story continue in the MCU. Let me know what you thought about the finale and the show as a whole, though, down in the comments below, and make sure you have a great day.